Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. It's the Power of 8 at 8, and I want to invite into the discussion Cynthia Sue Larson already, in case she disappears because her power might go out. How's it going, Cynthia?
Awesome for now. Thank you so much for having me and starting the show on time, just so that I can be on it. And we'll see how long the power stays on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but sad at the same time. Like, are the fires close to you, or is this just kind of...
Well, the current closest fire is about 30 to 40 minutes north of here by car. And but the thing is, the winds can whip up suddenly, and they're expected to really start blowing in all directions later tonight. And so as a precautionary measure,
how does turning off power affect the winds? How does that work?
Well, the idea is that the power lines are mostly above ground and they're vulnerable to high winds. They can either get hit by a tree or something, or spark and fall down in these very strong wind events that we've been having. Wow. So that's what the thinking is, so that it just takes one piece of the danger out of the equation. Wow. So we'll have the high winds, but not the power lines falling down while they're active. So we'll see.
Positive outlook. And we did a prayer circle last night because one of our community members was very close to it on a ranch with horses, Marianne. Mm-hmm. And she just didn't have power, didn't have a text. Somehow she got a text out to a few people she met at a SETI. And we started a prayer circle for her and everybody in the vicinity during the live stream last night, Shane, the love stream.
All right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I do want to mention, while Cynthia is here, in case she does disappear, that she's the keynote speaker at the West Coast Mandela Effect Conference. We're only it's less than 2 weeks. I mean, it's just right around the corner.
Yes, exactly. It's so exciting. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
do you know what you're going to say? Are you preparing for it, or are you just going to wing it?
Oh, yes, of course I'm preparing for it because I want to make sure to present information to a variety of people, because I'm expecting most people who come to this event should already know what the Mandela Effect is, hopefully, but I still want to bring people in at every level of awareness of possible reasons and factors, and talk about my background a little bit so that they can understand why I would feel the way I do. I think that makes a big difference when you hear a speaker, to know where are they coming from, why are they so convinced about certain things, and it's sharing our own experiences is very important. And I'll also be sharing some of the quantum physics background information that I find most relevant, as well as talking about various theories about what might be happening, and getting
important.
A chance.
The science behind it. Yeah, getting the science out.
And I'm super excited about the panels, especially, and the opportunity
Shane's
to talk
on the
with
panel. Shane?
Yes.
Yay, it's your first speaking event for the Mandela Effect, right?
It's my first speaking event, other than when you and I did the Power of 8 at 8 and at
SETI.
Yeah,
wow.
Now I've sang and played the guitar in front of, pretty nice sized crowds, but yeah, this will be my first time speaking. And I'm actually more relaxed about speaking than I am about playing, because, you mess up a song or something, I can skip over a word or fumble over a word, and that's not nearly as bad as forgetting a lyric or playing the wrong chord.
That is so true. Anyway. They wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even know if you skipped something. You'd be like, it just sounds normal.
Right. Or if I mumble over a word or something. So, yeah, I'm excited about it, though. I'm not, you'd think I'd be nervous, but
nope.
I'm super relaxed about it.
That's wonderful. I wish I could be with you guys. This year I can't. But I said to Jerry, Dark Wolf Den, who's organizing all this, I said, Jerry, please don't think I don't want to be there just because I couldn't be there this year. And he said, Eileen, I'm putting you down to speak next year. So don't let me down. And I'm like, okay, I'm going. So I got to ask you guys, can you go? Can you go with me next year?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
Gosh, I hope so. Yeah, well, this is the first one that we're doing together. I know Vanessa VA did an event before, and I didn't know about it at the time. So I think it's part of it is just getting the momentum, so people know that it's happening and the word gets out. And it takes time, but I think these will get bigger and bigger. I'm expecting that, and I love the group of people that we've got, and I love the book that you've put together, both of you, because that's such a positive book, such a really strong message.
I just wanted to say thank you for your blurb.
And I love
your blurb on the back. We were like, we are official because Cynthia's name is on our book.
Absolutely.
Mandela Effect, friend or foe.
And I do want to mention I have all of, let's see, let me go back to the other screen. I have all of Cynthia's links down below. So
awesome.
You can check out her books. You can connect with her and social media, all of them. There's a lot of them down there, so connect up with her. If you're not already, definitely want to be connected. There it is, Quantum Jumps. Let me go back to
That's the last one I read. I read The Reality Shifters a long time ago, and I need to get the money one. But this one I've been through many, many times for trying to kind of hone my craft of quantum jumping. So I don't quantum jump willy-nilly, but I quantum jump with purpose. So that's what your book, Quantum Jumps, is teaching me.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's useful.
Yeah.
And that last chapter is quite good with questions and answers. I think sometimes the questions and answers are the best part of anything. Like the conference that we've got with the panels and the Q&A. Really looking forward to that.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. And, you never know what people are going to ask, because some people will be really well versed and they might have a really solid opinion. Like, oh, this is CERN. No, it's Satan. No, it's D-Wave. But it could be, what else? What else are they saying? It could be, I think people are starting to think it's expanding consciousness, but that's not the top of the list for most people.
Right.
And that kind of is a nice segue into the movie.
Yes.
Because that movie sort of focuses heavily on the simulation theory. We don't want to spoil anything, but that's sort of the direction.
Have you guys seen it? You've seen it?
No. We have not seen it, and that's really important to point out. So
Shane we haven't seen it.
So we do not officially know what it's about. And this is just word of mouth from people who did see it, who then communicated what they thought. And obviously, everybody's got their own opinions. So, and I don't want to do any spoilers. I'm starting to get more sensitive about that because I made a mistake. I thought just saying what was already on their website would be fine, but some people are very sensitive. So.
Did I already spoil it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you've spoiled it.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
So I thought they said quite a bit in the, there was, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Chris Sinatra had pointed us to sort of, I guess it was like a Austin, Good Morning Austin type show where they had, I don't even know the guy's name, sorry, but the movie people on there discussing it. And, and I thought that was pretty cool because of, kind of.
Do you guys think they're taking a negative approach, a positive, or a neutral? Do you guys know if it's negative?
I've heard it's very positive. I've heard that both the director and the staff members or the actors are very much experiencers. So from that standpoint, this is phenomenal. I think it's the first time. Yeah, it's really awesome. And then, like you guys are saying, it almost doesn't matter which of the different various theories they're putting forward, because it's more important that the ideas go out there, that the public becomes aware of the concept, and that we start talking about it, that we have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing, is just getting the dialogue going, thinking about it. And
so
very
Shane,
much like
tell her a coincidence. No, we were supposed to have our book out last October, and everything happened to delay it till this September. And then Shane turns around the other day and goes, have you heard the Mandela Effect movie that was supposed to be out last December is out this December? So somehow we got knocked back with that. We got the delay.
That's divine timing for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And some people even remember the movie being released. So it's almost like we jumped into a timeline that was optimal for our book to be released. I don't know. How good can it get, right, Cynthia?
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah, that was Lauren, because she went to the premiere. She's someone that we know that did see it. And you're right. She actually remembers that she had seen this movie come out. In fact, twice. It's actually, she'd seen it once, and then it came out another time as if for the first time. And now here it is again. And this time she went to the Q&A and the premiere with the director, David Guy Levy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And the other cast members that were there. And she was able to talk to them and share some of her experiences and,
Did you
let
think it
them
was
know.
good? That it was a good movie?
She
Like it wasn't
she thought it was
porn?
No, she loved it. She really loved it. I had another friend who attended it, and my other friend is picky. I like picky. I like people who look at things with real clarity of mind, and sometimes see things others might not. So my other friend is very much that way. So she probably saw some things. If you want to be super, super picky, she's that way. But I don't want to do any spoilers here. So I'll just the only thing I'll say is, for some people, they might hope it's more like Star Wars, or might hope it's more like a movie where, you've got the phasers, the light, they're fighting with these swords of light, but they also have the force. And there's that kind of, both the technology,
the field, the force. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people are going into it hoping for that. And I don't think this movie really goes there. So I'm not going to spoil it. I'll just say, it may not go as far into why this is happening as some of us, like on this show, might hope, but that's okay.
So if they consulted with you before putting the movie out,
no, they did not.
would have gone into the science and the quantum world.
Well, I think what we can say without spoiling anything is that we'll be happy that they've included real Mandela effects in the movie. Real examples. I think the Berenstain Bears was one. I don't really know the other ones, but it was enough in there where if people see it and then they go Google it later, and it affects them, then they will be aware of the Mandela effect and realize it's more than just a sci-fi movie, right? So
that's
in that respect,
that's one
I
huge.
think that's great.
Huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
That is really huge.
And the other thing that sort of we're kind of worried about is that they might try to portray us as being off our rockers. And that wasn't the case either. So those two things, I think, were enough for me to be like, okay, I'll just enjoy the movie at this point. I'll send people to it and let them watch it. I just didn't want them to put something out that was clearly disinfo, like saying people that think that this are crazy. It's not happening.
Right.
Because I was really upset with how we're not upset, but disappointed with how the X-Files.
They made it a joke, didn't they?
They made it a big joke, and then they didn't include real examples. I think they mentioned Nelson Mandela, but other than that, they used sort of parallel examples. Like they had another book that wasn't the Berenstain Bears, but it was some other children's book. And I thought it was just legal reasons, but
yeah, definitely.
This movie brought it out. So, I mean,
well, we went to a lawyer last year thinking we were going to release last year, didn't we, Shane? Mm-hmm. And the lawyer said, the ground isn't tested yet. So until it's well tested, don't say the Berenstain Bears used to be this and it's changed. Say, I recall it being this, because nobody can challenge your memory. And so we did the whole book going, I recall, I remember, according to my memory, we just did it the way he said. He said, because the ground's not tested, but maybe the movie's testing it by saying the Berenstain or Stein Bears changed to Berenstain. Maybe it's like saying that now.
Well, it's fiction, so they're safe. They're going to be fine. It's a fictional account. Everybody watches the movie. They don't expect it's a documentary, and this really happened. At least I don't think.
That's a good point. So to be safe, make it fiction. That's our next book. We'll write the fictional account of the Mandela Effect.
Well, we even put that, like, many people remember, so it was just carefully wording things.
Report.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So we're not stating anything as fact, or we point them to a YouTube video that we heard something from, so that sort of thing. But like the attorney said last year, we don't want to be the example.
We don't want to be the example where Ford sues us and says, prove it. Prove that our logo changed.
You're defaming our logo or our image.
How do we prove it now, Well, if you read in my book, Quantum Jumps, the one I've got it right here too. But I start, we're twins. But I start off. Well, the reason it's here is you'll love this. I was trying to find something that I wrote in my book because I wanted to mention it at the conference. I can't find it. It's not in there. And I know, I am not, and I can say it because I wrote this book. But
you can say it.
I will not sue myself. No, seriously. So there's something that should have been in here that isn't, that I remember clearly was. And I'm holding the physical copy because I started with the PDF. When you're writing something and you're working with that. I thought, no problem. I'll just look it up. I'll find what I said. It's not there. And I thought, well, it should have been mentioned at least twice. It should be at the back of the book and the beginning. It's not in there anywhere.
So what is it? What popped out of it?
It has to do with the very cover of the book itself and the whole idea of the EPR, just the whole concept of Einstein and the EPR bridge, and then wormholes. Basically, the idea that the quantum and the very large go together and how that might work. It's a key concept. I cannot believe it's not in the book. It's totally not in the book.
Do you think it was taken out because the timeline we're on is not ready for it yet? They want them to go to the movie first?
Well, I'm more along the lines of what Shane would probably say, which is really, I spent 3 hours on this yesterday because I know my power's about to be off 2 to 5 days. I got to get this sorted out. It's like, okay, let's find it. I'll look at, if I've got the physical copy, I'll find it. Did not find it. It's not in there. And that's okay. These sort of things happen to me. I basically ask the universe, show me every good kind of reality shift possible. Show me the variety. Show me what they're like. Let's go there. And so, so of course, I won't sue myself. Like you're talking about, like someone might sue you. I can actually say this. I can say, okay, guys, here's what was in this book. Now it's gone.
And now it's gone.
And it's the juicy stuff, the good stuff. So
yeah, because that's like proof. That's like, oh, somebody who's a writer, who's an author, who's a physicist. Okay, she might be a little, out there with her reality jumping, but she wrote that and now it's gone. It's kind of like trying to prove that the Bible changed. You can't because we didn't write the Bible.
It.
Right. No, but you can prove it.
Right.
With your book.
The reason I was holding it in the first place is because I mentioned the effect with quantum thinking and quantum logic that we'll have on the courts. It's going to change things tremendously. And I think we're not really ready for it. Talk about testing the ground. I think there have been jokes so far about how people will make the Mandela Effect defense. They'll say, oh, I didn't kill that person. That was some other me. So I'm not trying to give people excuses, but I am acknowledging that there really are different realities that we do experience. Usually.
Well, on that note, did you guys see the movie that came out with Sam Worthington? You guys know Sam Worthington from that awesome movie about the blue people. What was that?
Avatar?
Yeah, Avatar.
Avatar.
It's called Fraction. And Netflix kind of aims for the older teenager, the 20-something, so they always try to scare them and make it super, super scary. That's the average original made Netflix, like Stranger Things. Like, what's that one Miley Cyrus was on where it was so weird that the people had to pick whether somebody killed himself.
Black Mirror. Black Mirror.
Yeah. So this is called Fractured. And I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but this man keeps jumping in his head into different timelines with his daughter and his child concerning one day. And I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts because everybody's going to go see it. But the message of it, of its writers, who obviously aren't Mandela affected, or they are, and they've been given a job to naysay it, is that you're either crazy if you're timeline jumping multiple times, or it's a psychological mechanism of your brain to keep you from remembering a crime you committed. So in other words, you did something so horrendous, you can't deal with it. So the mind makes up a new reality, a new timeline. And I was like,
oh no, man. Oh no.
You're going down the crazy route, like what did you say, Shane? That show.
Oh man.
Oh, X-Files.
X-Files, yeah.
Yeah, and and that's sort of one of the things that when I saw they were pushing the alternate universe theory, and that actually gave it less validity to me because the way they were like, if you don't remember this, then it's just if you don't fall for the misremembering excuse for it, then maybe you'll fall for the alternate universe excuse. But that would be crazy. I mean, if you tried to sue yourself for, what you just said a moment ago, as another person tomorrow, that would be crazy. Or if you tried to say you didn't commit a crime, that
Well, so. the important thing to keep in mind here, and I will talk about it at the conference because it's the biggest idea that I think most people are, even physicists, are not really grasping, is that we are moving out of that boolean either or logic. That is That's old. That's it's a very special case. It's kind of like that exists, but that's not really the way nature works. It's not the way the universe works. So we can laugh at it like that's ridiculous. Like if you're having Mandela effects, you've committed a crime. I don't think so.
Well, yeah, they say the mind is creating alternate realities, so you don't have to feel sad that you just did something bad.
Hold on, Eileen. Then Jesus Christ, is he like one of the worst criminals ever? I do not think so.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
so I'm laughing like, what?
It's a whole new concept of a psychological illness that creates realities for you, so you don't have to deal with your real reality. That's got to be some kind of a psychological mechanism that they're hinting at, like, projection in psychology, right, where they say you hate when people are late, right? But the truth is, you're always late and you're doing it and you don't like it, so you're projecting it onto other people. So this is kind of like a really quantum projection. Like, you can't bear to think about what you've just done in reality, so you're creating false realities.
Well, I just had a guest on my show. I do a podcast called Living the Quantum Dream, and she is a biologist and a chemist who now teaches shamanism. She has a PhD in it, but before she did that, she was working with multiple personality disorder patients. You'll love this. So she had people that she would work with that would be blind, literally blind, with cataracts. You could see their eyes were not, they were just all clouded over. And then within an hour or so, maybe less, they can see clearly, and they would go back and forth between these types of abilities. And not just that, but all sorts of things. This is a very real thing. And so when you look at someone, and I think this is where that idea comes from, that you must be crazy if you're experiencing the Mandela effect, like a multiple personality disorder. But it's not really crazy for those of us who are experiencing it in a good way, more the way Jesus Christ may have experienced it, hopefully, and less the way of someone who's crazy, who
makes it up, just making stuff up, like delusional, right, making up things. Right. Interesting.
There's a difference. There's a very big difference. And I think most of us that are experiencing Mandela effects are aware that the things we remember are very different than what is being told to us and what we can fact check and find out. But we'll find that kind of
guys residue. That if they could, don't you think if the authorities could hang a mental illness label on it, they would have by now? But they can't, so they're not. They put it in movies, yeah, and videos on YouTube, but it's not official. They're not addressing it. They're not saying, everyone who believes in the Mandela effect is this. They're not going there.
Well, our organizer of this conference, Dark Wolf's channel, Jerry Hicks, he basically, I love his point, which is that the UFO community used to be where we are now, the Mandela effect community. So people are making fun of the Mandela effect. It's easy to put it down and, ridicule it. But eventually, I'm certain that we'll be in a similar place where even the government will acknowledge, what, alternate realities are real. That's how our quantum computers are operating. So it's going to be the norm in the future. Right now, it's just an awkward phase where people are making fun of it because that's an easy thing to do.
Well, don't you kind of feel like it's almost like it's like you either notice it or you're not? I mean, isn't everyone quantum jumping? So it's more like some have noticed it, some are aware of it, some just aren't aware of it. I mean, they see something change, and like even I do when I know the Mandela effect and the quantum jumps happen, I still find it hard to believe,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And I think that it makes a difference in your belief system to begin with. And I touch on that in my book, Reality Shifts, because we don't even know what our beliefs are. We tend to adopt the social beliefs without noticing we've done it. And some of us are fortunate that for whatever reason, our beliefs were much more open earlier in life, like mine certainly were. So I was witnessing a lot of seemingly impossible, miraculous things from an early age. So I think that helped a lot. And I would trust my experience, even though I couldn't get a lot of confirmation from other people. So I started learning, don't talk about these things.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, you too.
My mom was Mandela affected in the 70s, only with celebrity deaths. And she'd go, oh my God, that person couldn't have died yesterday. I watched the funeral. So-and-so wore a yellow dress and so did this and they did this. And she had this whole memory. And I'm like, okay, Mom, all right, whatever. But in her mind, she saw celebrities die before and then die later.
And that happened with people like Mark Twain. I mean, he famously commented, "The rumor of my death is greatly exaggerated." This has been going on for thousands of years. It's only recently that we've got the internet so we can actually back it up.
And then we find 3 different death dates, actually, for Nelson Mandela. It's around 86, 87 that I can't verify. 91 is in a book in South Africa. And the official date was 2013.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So that one isn't one of my Mandela effects, but I think it was Allison Coe mentioned how his wife took over, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds really familiar. And when she said that, then I was like, I kind of remember that.
And her football team of bodyguards who were a little bit scary. Remember, she took over when he died and became like the head of the ANC. Mm-hmm.
Pretty weird stuff. And then for me, in personal experiences, just the other year, Oliver Sacks, the neurologist that wrote The Woman That Mistook Her Husband, or maybe it was the man who mistook his wife for a hat. Yeah, something. Well, I read his entire obituary in the New York Times like a day before it actually was published. I mean, I read the whole thing, and then it comes out again the next day. Like, wait a minute, he died yesterday. So these things. Oliver Sacks, Sacks. So he's a psychologist, neurologist, works with people who have various brain disorders. I'm sure he would have studied Mandela affected people, you know.
Do you know
because
what
nobody has.
Nobody's ever asked anybody, and I want to ask you now, why? What does the Mandela effect offer us? Why is humanity going this way? What's the possibility of the Mandela effect as a human being?
The question contains the answer. It's all about the possibility, and it's our real privilege and our honor to be able to start imagining a different kind of world instead of just being kind of like rats in a maze or running on a wheel, stuck in habitual patterns. We're actually now able to rise up and look around, look at what can we bring together on new levels. And it really has to do with collaboration, cooperation, community. I think that's the big answer. And we see it happening with this whole conference. The organizers constantly blowing away at how it's coming together. To me, it makes sense because look at what's going on. We've got 6 of us who are largely the primary people putting it together. We love this passionately. We're all working together. Of course it's coming together, you know, but that's the way everything in the future can be. And I think humanity has never really seen that, not on the level that is possible.
And we've got lots of grassroots meetups, don't we, Shane? Especially in this community. How many grassroots meetups? There's one in St. Louis, right? Is that one over? And then
North Carolina.
We did ESETI. So even though we're not tagging them as official Mandela Effect meetups, Mandela affected people get together.
Definitely, yeah. Everybody's Mandela affected there. So that's how it started out. But, you know, we've moved more towards, trying to change the world or a spiritual view of what's going on because really that's where this whole thing has led me to, you know. I mean, I was already sort of open-minded about, you know, going to college makes you more open-minded about other people's beliefs and understandings and all that. So I was already open-minded in that sense, but I was still very left brain and analytical. So the Mandela effect, I had to go back to the chalkboard and clear it off. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because the way I think things work is not how it works.
That's so true. Yeah,
it's
that
so
happened
much
to me
fun.
too.
Being a pioneer. You were the early pioneer, but I grew up in an odd family. So it was like, I found Cynthia Sue Larson probably like 5 years after you wrote the book, maybe closer to 2000. And I was like, holy moly, she's a scientist. You know, you never get like authoritative people involved on the cusp of really mind-blowing things because they're too afraid to go there. They're like, well, it's going to ruin my reputation. I'll never get a job. I'll never write a paper, you know?
Right.
I don't see how you did it for so long, Cynthia. I mean, you were like alone for decades. You know?
That's why I was so happy with you guys. I just feel like finally, I've never been so happy in the whole time I've been doing this. It feels like, it's just a dream come true. So
we were all out there simmering. We were simmering. reading PMH Atwater, reading in Cynthia Sue Larson, reading about star people and UFOs and mental telepathy and psychic self-defense and all that really like magical stuff. And then, you know, it went from fantasy to reality. It went out of the fantasy side into reality when the Mandela Effect hit. That made it real. It was like, holy moly.
That would be a super good Mandela Effect movie where it breaks that fourth wall and the audience is watching it and they think it's just a movie and then suddenly, boom, they're in it. It's like the Shane's movie that he mentions in his absolutely excellent video about the never-ending story. I love that. That was such a good video, Shane.
Oh, I'm so glad you got to see that. It was so long ago, so many people missed it, and I'm going to be bringing it up in the conference. It was so funny that when you mentioned that, I was actually working on my presentation, and I had reached that part. So you saying that was validation that I needed to include that whole thing in there with screenshots because... Gosh, the way you can get messages, and I know everybody gets their own messages, and I just want to encourage everybody to go get their own messages, not take mine for their own, you know, unless it resonates, but to at least take an active role to look beyond the changes and see what maybe it's telling us, because I found so much magic. In that movie, I was led to looking for a Mandela Effect, and I didn't need one in it because it was so, I mean, the whole thing was almost about the Mandela Effect and what we're going through and how we need to get back to our right brain and everything else that the Mandela Effect changes were showing me, you know?
Yeah.
Even the part where the little wolf thing says it's what's left. I mean, I was like, what? I mean, what's left after you get rid of the fantasy and all that? And I'm like, what's left? What's left brain? You know? And everything was aligning in this really synchronistic way. So it was amazing. And there is a Mandela Effect with that movie. I just didn't know about it because somebody brought it up.
Which one is it? What's the Mandela Effect?
The never-ending story. So it used to, at the end, repeat the never-ending story, but now it just says never-ending story from what, you know, people remember. So I didn't know it well enough. It doesn't sound too wrong to me, but, you know.
Very cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, just re-upload it. You've got like a gazillion videos now. It'd be hard for people to find it. So you could just re-upload it any day.
Well, it's in this perfect section that Shane has of so you're new to the Mandela Effect. So I was going through that because I did not find you guys until recently. And so I'm a big fan of you guys both, obviously, since you've written the book. And now I'm coming in a little bit late to find out what have you been doing. And that was part of what
I made that playlist, like you're saying.
Well, it's awesome.
Thank you.
And I like your I Am playlist too. Have you gotten to his I Am? It's the old, it's his recording with dulcet tones of the old
Saint Germain.
Saint Germain. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've gone through that twice. It's 25 videos, and I'll just put them on and drive, or put them on and go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Well, we just joined your club. We knocked on your door and said, "Hey, can we come in?"
and Eileen was always leaving all these fantastic comments. I'm like, Eileen, I thought you were a guy at the time. I'm like, why don't you have your own channel?
Hey, dude.
You can have your channel. You can come on here. I can help you get some subscribers. So I was just trying to, because she had so much to say. She was so active in the comments.
Just on your channel, because I resonated with you, and I'm like, hey, this guy's not afraid, and he's not selling fear. Yeah. So I'm just going to listen to him, because I'd listened to so many other fearful channels. I just couldn't contribute. So
that's
this was
the key.
And Shane pushed me out of his chat into my own channel. Yeah.
No, you're doing great. I love your channel. And I love your chapter in the book is amazing too. So
you've read it because we're getting you a copy. That's right. Shane's going to sign a copy for you.
That would be great, because I've only seen the electric, like when I was looking at my book and it was just the electronic PDF, and then I'm like, well, this is obviously flawed. I'll check the real book.
Yeah, because we actually sent you the early PDF, so it's been edited a few more times.
Oh,
so you got the early
exciting.
PDF.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so super excited to see it. The real book, autographed, is the best.
Yes.
And
by Shane,
looking
in
forward.
person.
Yay.
Yeah, I'll have some other surprises too, but we'll save that for the conference, you guys.
Oh, surprises.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think this whole conference is going to be that way. I think it's kind of like getting all these kids together to play and bringing it to the highest level. Like, really, how good can it get? And I think
the
that's
energy in that
doing.
room is going to be like buzzing, like your heads are going to be buzzing, and you'll be floating. You think you're walking on the ground, and you'll be like 1 foot off the ground, floating in.
I'm already feeling it. To be honest with you, I already feel it. So it's
Yeah,
like
me too.
I'm just smiling all the time, really happy. Like power off. Oh well, I'm really happy.
Well,
And
when we went to Iseti, we had very personal, miraculous, exciting experiences there. And then
Yes.
John Binney, who writes a song a day, it's a very love-filled song. He came from Scotland, and he just threw a video on, and people walked out of there from Shane's group with like orbs and parts of their bodies disappearing and vortexes, and it's like we got to capture the magic on film, and that's so rare. It's so rare to walk away to show your family, well, if you don't believe me, look, it's right there on
Right.
video.
Well, this conference will be filmed too, so I don't know if the audience will all be filmed, but the speakers will. So if you start seeing more and more orbs, that would make sense. I think
is it
that's
just the
very likely.
speakers? Is it just the presenters on
I,
the panel, or is it going to be
I
other
think
people?
people have an option to sign a waiver. So if they don't want to be videotaped, I guess they'll have. I don't know how. Obviously they'll be treated differently. Like, okay, don't be anywhere near the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ask any questions, and
Right.
sit in the back and be quiet. Don't ask any questions. If you don't
I don't want to be on video. Okay, sit in the other room. We'll give you a speaker. Okay, I'll be on video. Hey, speaking of orbs, guys, last night I was out walking, and it was 1 a.m, and I saw Sirius. And Sirius is the brightest star, and it often flickers. So I turned my camera on, and the burst of like multiple colors can be in less than a second.
Yes.
Can I show you guys what I got on my camera? They look like orbs, and they look like sacred geometry, but they're coming out of a star.
Eileen, I was looking at the exact same thing like 2 nights ago at about like 1 a.m. my time.
Was it
Wow.
Sirius? Were you looking at Sirius?
Yes, and I have proof. I emailed one of our other speakers about it because she was asking me something that led to right to that. Kimberly Lynn Hansen, I've got proof. I emailed her that I was doing
I believe
that.
you. I believe you. I know you got proof, but I'm going to believe you.
Swear to God.
It's like a synchronicity. It's like a Sirius synchronicity. So what I thought was I did a little 5-minute video on it. I showed it just like flickering, and then I showed it slowed down, and then I went onto my free app on my phone and I blew it up. And I captured the stills. And is it okay, Shane, if I show you guys what's in Sirius last
Absolutely.
night?
Yeah, I've got you full
Yes.
screen, so go ahead.
Cool beans. Here we go.
And I do want to mention that the person we were just talking about, Kimberly Lynn Hansen, will be on Monday afternoon with us.
Talk about synchronicity.
Yeah.
So Eileen, be sure to mention this again because you're going to blow her socks off.
Yes, you got to tell her, Shane. Tell her about tonight, the synchronicities tonight.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so I think my screen's up now. Can I confidently say I'm sharing? Yeah. Okay, I do this really slow, Cynthia, because I'm like a newbie at this bit. Okay, yeah. So let's see. If I go this way. Okay, so
this is so weird though, because I never go out and just sit down in a chair and stare at the sky in silence, which I did that night. It's pretty weird. But this whole thing is weird, but continue.
It is. So I just took this picture. It is weird. This is just Sirius, really bright, zoomed in on a little bit from a Samsung phone. Okay. And then I got that, which I blew it up. I just see a cross in the middle. I see like either Jesus cross or the square cross of the Knights Templar. I see like a white line running through it. And look at that. Look at that square. Look at that like box, and then a circle here, and then the purple around it.
I love those colors. It's like that beautiful
amazing.
Purple. And those
and
greens.
Then what's that?
Oh my gosh. Magenta. Oh my gosh.
Magenta. And then on my camera, it looks like an eye, a nose, and a mouth. This is a little blurry because it's
even an ear poking out there.
Yeah, an ear and an ear. It looks like a face.
Yeah.
And
you
look
can
at
see the bridge of the nose and the shadow of the nose. And wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, if I can get you the actual photos, Shane's equipment's much better than mine. Look at that color.
You gotta
see the rainbow in that one almost.
Wow.
You see
and you see like an eye or a circle or a triangle in here, and maybe there, so maybe it's a Merkaba.
Oh yeah.
See the shapes? And let me see. I think.
What kind of lens was this?
This is a Samsung S10, and I videoed it, and then I put it in KindMaster there. That looks more like a face, doesn't it, from far away?
Yeah.
And then I blew it up in my free app called KindMaster from Germany, and this is what came out of the video in a 1 second burst. If you just freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame, it took each photo in less than a second. So this is some kind of a download, I think, from the star, because they're looking like orbs now. Don't you think those look like orbs now?
Absolutely. That's what I was doing, is just going out and absorbing the energy. I was looking specifically at Sirius and Orion, the constellation, and then just a little bit to the side, which turns out to be tied in with Kimberly Lynn Hansen and what she's been tracking.
That's it.
So
shameless plug of the book.
Yeah, I always have that up. I put it up before we published. I'm like, I was doing my quantum jumping with the screen in front of me. We are going to be published. We're
There's
going
Cynthia's little blurb on the back. Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, love it.
Okay, I'll stop
Love your
sharing now.
photos.
But I just
that's
wanted you guys, thank
great.
you. I wanted you guys to like tell me what you think, because I'm thinking they look like orbs, they look like sacred geometry, and I think they're giving us downloads. So I think if you look up at Sirius and other stars, you're going to start to get a flickering download.
That's awesome, because I spend a lot of time looking at the stars. I think it annoys some people sometimes, but I can't help it.
Are we good now?
That was
Can I
also
give you back your screen?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
So Cynthia, physicist, what are we looking at? Is that plasma? Is it sacred geometry? Is it a download? What's Sirius doing?
Well, from a physics standpoint, it's pretty dry, so you don't want to hear that. But from my mystic side, mystical side,
it's the gas, right, or something from the official. You're
getting the physics would be you're getting some interference from that you'd expect to see in the typical atmosphere of the Earth. Yeah, and there's some dust, from fires or whatever, and it gets in the way between your lens. I know. And they'll say that's a typical thing that you can expect to see from the diffraction of any lens, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what's interesting is that you and I and Kimberly Lynn Hansen were all looking at the sky in this area about the same time. That is rather remarkable.
At the same star.
At the same star. Thank you.
Serious.
And I stopped everything I was doing, went outside, sat in a chair, just staring at that star and at that constellation above it, Orion, and a little bit off to the side.
Yeah, Orion was way too big. It looked huge. And Sirius was blazing and like spitting out colors.
And
I was like, wow, are you going to explode?
Right. And I didn't see anything. Well, I saw things in my mind's eye, nothing that I could actually see. It was maybe because it's too fast. It was like little mini things flying around. And when you're outside sometimes and you see nature spirits flying around, like fairies or something, it was like that. And I was seeing that around Sirius. It was
elementals. Yeah. So Dolly Daydream, who just got back from New York, she's a friend in our community, has a channel, and she starts singing in her bedroom, and then blue orbs come out. So I'm like, okay, guys, I'm in my apartment and I've got my video on and I've got my video on and my flash on, and I'm singing to the furniture. I'm walking around my apartment singing happy songs. I get to this old sideboard behind me, and boom, they start to come out. Rainbow orbs, white orbs, just orbs. And I did a little video on it, and I'm like, wow, Dolly, you're right. They like singing. So they came from underneath it, from outside, as if they're like nature sprites, elementals. They like songs, they like little animals, they like plants.
Absolutely. And I do want to say check out Dolly Daydream's channel, because she's been a huge supporter of my channel since over probably close to 2 years now. So I always try to shout her out, because whenever I hop in the chat, she shouts me out, and she says
she's coming on to see you, and she mentioned me and Michelle. So I guess we're going to come on with you. She's arranging a party. I don't know if anybody's told you yet, Shane, but we're having an unbiased Dolly Daydream party.
No, we're scheduled to do a BQH after the conference and everything, but
cool.
So maybe we'll have her on after that or something.
She can sing orbs out of anything, and they're blue. I'm like, whoa, such a pretty blue, like that star color, like that Archangel Michael indigo.
The blue ones are amazing, absolutely amazing. So all is well with your power, Cynthia. I'm so glad that
Oh, me too. This is fantastic. I didn't know we'd go this far, so this is great.
No, we did 45 minutes so far. That's
Yay.
awesome.
But the connection with you and Kimberly and me means that you're part of this conference as well, because that whole Sirius thing is definitely what's going on. I'm sure Kimberly is going to be talking about it.
Wow.
And I know it also relates to others in the group as well. So it's big. And
what do you think is? I know Sirius is the dog star. I know that it's been worshipped for millennia as being the source of certain people, like maybe the Doggone tribe, right? Didn't they follow the dog star?
In a meditation prior to this, before I went out and looked at the star, I'd gotten some information that this is a time of awakening on Earth, like has happened other places, other times. And definitely there's a serious connection there, for sure. What it is?
Serious
yeah,
connection.
Exactly.
Serious.
That's what I always say when I look up. I'm like, are you serious?
You serious?
Because it always stands out. It always grabs my attention because it's so colorful and
so
flickering.
colorful.
In fact, were you out the night at ESETI when all of the stars seemed to be just strobing?
Yeah.
That was weird. I mean, it was like I couldn't even look for a ship or anything because there was just so much flickering.
Was that the first night or not? Was that the flickering of the first night or not?
I don't know. I just know
Maybe
it was
not.
so active up there without seeing any ships or anything that I couldn't even spot a ship because they just were strobing so much and more than I'd ever seen the stars twinkle, you know?
Sometimes I think your consciousness changed, so the stars look different to you because you were like really seeing them, like going beyond the 3D Earth realm and seeing what the stars really are. So suddenly they're all flickering super bright.
That's actually the core of the Mandela Effect right there. It's because the Mandela Effect is all about who are each of us. It is consciousness related at the core. And so as we change our vibrational state, obviously we'll be experiencing, multiple realities much more often. So you're dead on. That's exactly right.
I'm so glad you said that because when I even considered that the Mandela Effect could be a positive thing, that's all I did was just consider it. It's like my whole perspective changed. My whole vibration began to raise with awareness that, oh my gosh, if this is a benevolent force making these changes or us, then, and then it like tied in with where you see these accidents or something that happens and people just make it out in a miraculous way. And it seems almost like they shifted, or they were protected in that very moment. You don't get to see the magic happen, but clearly some kind of supernatural miracle happen because the people will walk away without a scratch. Or there's compilation videos where you'll see a car just barely miss something or spin around someone that's walking across the street and you're like, that was clearly they were in that perfect spot not to get hit. And it just seems like a rewriting of the code,
Yeah.
I can't think of any other way to say it, like a manipulation of reality. They were saved in that moment,
Yes.
Yeah. I know what you mean, because a lot of us have in common either a near-death experience or some people say an escape where I should have died, but I didn't. But I'm like, well, how do you know you didn't die? Because if you shifted the second you died, you wouldn't remember the dying part.
Yeah, and did we bring that up the last time you were on, Cynthia, about how you got really ill that time? Did we talk about that on the show?
We did.
I don't think so.
We did, but we can talk about it again.
Did we?
We were talking
Okay,
about when somebody contacted you and saying, oh my God, I'm so glad you're alive.
Right.
I thought you were dead.
Yeah, I think we should share that story.
And he was
I
a
think
UFO.
that's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, that was a UFO experiencer. So I think people like that are already tuned in. But I didn't know that. I just got this email from a guy that I'd never heard from before. And he said it was he didn't know how to quite write this email, but he just wanted to let me know that he's glad that I'm alive and that he had actually observed that in his history, very clearly, that he'd seen a post on my Facebook page stating that after a long illness, I had passed away. And so I was able to then tell him, I found out a bit more from him first, and then I was able to confirm that almost happened, actually, exactly when he said that it would have happened. I had caught pneumonia that winter, and I had been very sick. But in my reality, I pulled through. But this has another connection because some people had seen Moneybag 73 had done some sort of a tribute video to me, which Moneybags does not remember having done. But that doesn't change things. You know how it works. Mm-hmm. Still, people remember that they had seen the tribute video that Moneybags did. And so It's interesting. I've heard from about 6 people that told me they do remember that I had passed away. So it's not hundreds of people, but that's okay. I believe, even if it was just one, I would believe them. But it's
Because you
quite
were sick at the time. You told us, well, actually, I was sick, but nobody knew except my family.
I didn't tell anybody.
Oh.
I mean, it's a sort of a downer, you know?
But that's amazing. So it's almost like he was on the timeline you were on original, or
Yes.
it's hard to think of it in timelines because, that's one of the things that it sort of gets, you started thinking linearly, and it's really not like that, really.
It's not,
It's
is
like
it?
a soup
No, it's
of
not linear.
possibilities, and you're sort of
Yep.
collapsing whatever you're paying attention to, individually with every little item or every little possibility. So it's almost like they were on this other timeline where you passed away, and then they jumped to your current timeline. So it's almost like they
Right.
jumped to your timeline or your reality where your consciousness is right now or something.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
if every possibility exists of everything, then you can be anywhere at any time with anyone, and they can pop in and out with you.
That's right.
Because we're staying. I mean, a lot of people think the Mandela effect is jumping timelines. You physically go from here to another place in space, which is
But that's-
slightly different.
Yeah, that's kind of a limited viewpoint. I don't use that word for that reason.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to talk about a holographic multiverse because
Yeah.
we have this infinite possibility of, things that we can imagine, but we don't populate them equally because some are considered, we don't want to go there, and nobody wants to go there. So those are extremely unpopular possibilities, and there may be that infinite possible range, but we're choosing, like, now we're
By
not going to blow
focusing.
the planet
By
up.
focusing. What you focus
That's
on
right.
determines your timeline. And if
Well,
you
I wouldn't use the
how
timeline
would you
again
say it?
is. I don't use the word timeline. You probably noticed I've never said it
How
so
would
far.
you say that then? Your point of focus determines your
Well, I'd say
Reality?
reality. Yeah,
reality.
right. Your
Yeah,
experience.
because the
your
problem with
reality.
that, if you think of it in terms of timelines, then if you're on this one train and then you jump into this train, there wouldn't be residue because that
Exactly.
timeline, it was really always that way. But if it was somehow shifted in the now, then you would have residue because
You would have
you
residue.
didn't really jump train. It's like things just shifted around, right?
Right.
While you weren't looking.
Shane always calls it to me converging timelines, which makes sense because it explains residue. If you're diverging your timelines, you'll be losing residue. And if you're converging them in one place, then the residue's all around you for all the different versions of what used to be.
Right.
Well,
And
some people
that
were saying
meshes,
it's splitting
yeah.
in timelines or merging, and I thought, either way it sort of works out. But I think just like you were saying, Cynthia, just the probabilities or the soup of possibilities is a much cleaner way of
Yeah.
looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, frankly, we're like biologists on a seagoing vessel, taking a look at animals that we see on an island and observing. And so we have theories, but we don't really know what's going on, and we're just observing. So we're doing the best we can. So there's nothing wrong with the word timeline per se. It's just not one that resonates for me.
Yeah, it
I
just
didn't
makes
mean
it
to
feel
offend anyone that likes to use it.
linear. It makes it feel
Yeah.
too separate, not holographic,
And if that
Right.
was the case, nobody would be from the same timeline if it was really timelines, because nobody's Mandela effects match perfectly. So you
No.
can't say, oh, we're from this timeline because all of our Mandela effects align perfectly. There'll always be something that's different or you remember it differently. And that sort of blows the whole linear timeline rigidity away because it's just too limiting for what we actually observe if we have an open mind looking at it, right?
Hey, Shane, it took
Absolutely.
you and me 3 years to get from timelines to holographic soup. And Cynthia's been there for like 30 years in the holographic soup. It took us like 3 years ago, we were in our minds, timelines and wondering how we jumped from one to the other. Weren't we? Trying to
But
figure it out.
that's because our culture and all of science is set up that way. So it's not your fault. There's such a huge bias built into our very scientific structure of these assumptions that we make that, number one, that we can have such a thing as an objective reality. And we assume that. And there's so many others. But quantum physics blows them apart completely. And I was able to see that because I'm studying quantum physics. So I realize I have a rarefied view and then an early mystical childhood, that is a 1-2 combo. So it wasn't quite fair, but and then I realized, I think, why doesn't everyone else see it? But they didn't have a mystical childhood.
Exposed to it. Yeah,
No,
they didn't have the information. But let me ask you this then. When people think of simulation, whether it's in a multiverse or a hologram or, a holographic universe, I personally think that all three could exist at once. They don't knock each other out. You could have a holographic multiverse that is being simulated. And they're like, well, that does away with God. And I'm like, well, why do you think a simulation does away with the concept of God? Because they're thinking, well, a computer's doing it. And I'm like, no, if you remove the computer aspect of it, God could be creating the simulation, or all of us together could be creating the simulation. It doesn't have to be a mechanical computer or a place like CERN or D-Wave doing it. And they're like, are you sure simulation isn't computer?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that word simulation, people think it's a complete theory, but unless they tell you what is being simulated, they haven't really gotten to the bottom of it, have they? So it's sort of stopping at that point of, yay, computer, we know we like games and we're done. But it's like, well, wait a minute. What are you simulating?
Some teenager in the basement somewhere is creating our reality and taking the dash out of Kit Kat and putting it in Coca-Cola just for fun. It's that whole concept that this is human made and that humans are doing it.
Yeah, but it doesn't ring true. And this is where if you have a spiritual nature and you do meditation and so forth, then you start getting direct sort of downloads of things, and that one just doesn't ring true. It feeds more into the fear and the Black Mirror thing, and like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's yeah.
Yeah, and I think the taking the place of the computer would be consciousness. So, and if we're driving it because we are in the consciousness, because that's one of the problems I saw right on is like to say it's CERN or D-Wave computers. To me, it seems like whatever's causing this is outside of time. Even if we use our own consciousness, it's beyond time because it can change our perceptions of the past, right?
Right.
So I don't see a person being able to do that without screwing themselves up. I mean, you change Berenstain to Berenstain, and then you wouldn't remember you did it the second after you did it, right? You're in it, So I don't know. It's I don't think it works. It seems like it has to be done from outside of it, and I don't think it's a kid in this basement sort of running our show down here.
Or a bunch of crazy scientists in Switzerland turning on the Hadron Collider. I think they don't mind being credited for it. They don't claim it, but I think it makes them feel more powerful if we all think they're doing it.
Well, they'll get a good chuckle out of it. They'll think it's funny. That's all. They're going to say it's ridiculous. And then, of course, the people that believe in it will say, no, it's not them doing it. It's the ones that have all the power that set up that did the hiring and created the laboratory and funded it and so forth. But it's ridiculous. I agree with what you said, Shane, that in fact, I think that's true of all of these theories about the Mandela Effect. When you just keep stair-stepping, your questions go to the source of whatever it is, you always end up at consciousness. Every single theory ends up there. So it doesn't really matter which one you pick. They all go the same place, in my view. I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it does. And then it'd be nice to know what consciousness is. And if I did the Course in Miracles, did you do the Course in Miracles, Cynthia?
No, but it's blessed me with its presence many times. So it's kind of like it dances through life with me. It sort of comes in, says hello, and then dances out. And it moves like a living thing, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And what you come out of it with is the sense of oneness, but not just oneness with all people. You're also one with all animals. You're one with all plants. You're one with all minerals. And then you're suddenly one with all of creation, stars, galaxies. And then you're like, no, it goes further. You're one with the multiverse. And no, you're one with God. It's that sense of oneness of where is the actual division and the break occurring? It doesn't. It's like this concept of one consciousness going out to have many different experiences.
Yes. I think that's why I that's so heavily imbued in my very being that's why I don't read the book, because it's like, well, I'm living that way. So when I see it, it's like, yay, it's like, good to see you. And then we dance off our different ways again. But
I felt it was very Aboriginal. I felt it was Native American. I felt like as I was learning it and feeling it and understanding the concept of it, I thought, wow, this has been around a long, long time. Before organized religions, this is what humanity thought. When they saw an eagle or a river or a tree or a rock, they felt at one with it. They recognized the spirit in it.
That's what I liked about the movie Avatar. It really showed how connected they were with the trees and the land and everything in that movie, the indigenous people, the Avatar people or whatever. But I had a question as it relates back to consciousness for you, Cynthia. Okay, so do you feel like there's sort of this consensus consciousness, maybe a Christ consciousness? Do we have our own individual consciousness? The reason I ask is sometimes we have sort of this dual memory, right? Like I'll be presented with the Mandela Effect and I'll know what my two choices are, but I won't know which was the first way and the second way. So I've got this awareness of dual memories with a lot of the Mandela Effects, but am I tapping into two separate consciousnesses, my own individual one? How do you view that whole thing?
That's a great question. I don't know. To me, often when I'm switching realities, like quantum jumping, for a healing situation, I'll feel like there are two vibratory states I could be in. One where I'm like the power is going to go out and I get fearful and then this show would never happen. Or the one where, oh, it's going to be fine and it does happen, even though the power is supposed to be off an hour ago, or that kind of thing. Okay. Now it's supposedly 8:00. Good. So anyway, but whatever. These things, but I think what I notice is that there are these two vibratory states. It could be my dog that has cataracts and he's going blind. That actually happened. And I would look at the dog and think, okay, we don't want that happening. I love the dog so much. He's going to be okay. So I can feel the two vibratory states. And so it's like two states of my being is how I'd answer that question. And I think a lot of us don't notice that we can hold these simultaneous states of vibration within ourselves, but we do. And we often hold more than two. But when you notice two, that's pretty good for us. And then you can decide, okay, I like this one better, where the dog is not losing his vision. I love the dog. And so I sorted that out with my whole family. My daughter came to me, bad news, Mom. I said, what is it? It's about the dog. Oh, right. I know what you're going to say. So I just tell my daughter, well, it's going to look like he's going blind, but we don't want that, so it's not happening. And she's like, oh okay, good. So we went through that with all the members in the household, and then of course the dog was fine. But that's where you've got a household.
This is important because we have a lot of empaths here. And our argument where we sit on the fence with Shane and go, darn, we're not sure what to do. We've got 1 foot in 3D where we see the bad stuff and we're like, we need to step in and help change it physically in 3D. And then we have our 5D sensors on, which says, no, don't focus on it. Change your focus. Focus on the good. Yeah. And then
that's a good point. And I wanted to bring this up while I got Cynthia on, because do you remember we were talking about, you were saying, I don't want to shift out of one situation, but yet change an unrelated situation. So like you're shifting, you were sort of, and that's why I think the timeline idea is sort of not very helpful, because you can feel like you'll jump out of a reality where your dog doesn't have cataracts, but now all of a sudden your daughter has an illness that she didn't have before. And I don't feel like it really works that way. Do you feel like it works that way? Like you're changing all this unknown stuff, these paradoxes are happening because you shifted one little thing? Or do you think we can just shift that one thing?
Good question.
That is a good question. Sometimes I'll just feel the one thing can shift, and it has to be with love. It has to be with integrity. That means what I want in my mind, what I love in my heart, and what I need with my fullness of being. So when that's all aligned, then I can love something so much that it can be lifted into a healed reality, a healed state. That does happen. It happens a lot.
Just so that's one bit. Not everything. Yeah. You didn't shift everything around you in an unforeseen way.
It does require faith of a sort. So you have to be with at least one person like me that knows, like, oh, I've seen that kind of miracle. Let's do it. And then preferably in a state of joy, instead of feeling like it's some onerous task. This would never work well in a military program, because no. got to be joy-based, full of love, and it's not the way the government tends to work usually. So this is much more something for your kind of group. Absolutely.
So we don't have to worry about, we could actually do an intention meditation that everybody moves to their optimal timeline, and you don't have to worry about collateral damage. Like this person's going to suffer because the rest of the group is on a more optimal timeline, but we pulled this guy into his worst timeline or something. We don't have to worry about that. It's very individual with our experience, right?
Yes, I'm very spiritual at my core, so I believe that you don't need to harbor lots of shame and guilt. That doesn't help at all.
Or
and
worry.
I think a lot of people, or worry, anxiety. The only thing that you really need is unconditional love, and it's yours. It's right now. You can feel it. And when you feel that, and you know that you're always doing your best, and that's always good enough, then that sets you free, and it gives you this fresh slate. So even if you have made mistakes, that's okay. You're here now. Your heart is pure, and it's available to all of us.
And I can feel that excitement bubbling up as you're saying that too just now. I can feel it,
I think your word optimal is key, Shane, and you're going optimal for the best possible outcome for all concerned. Now everybody's protected. You're like, I'm going to ride this wave, trusting that it's going to be good for everybody. And, when you say optimal and best possible outcome for all in your family, or for, everybody involved with that dog and healing that dog, then you just know it's going to be okay because you requested it to be good for everybody.
Yes. It's like limitless good. I'm, not putting the ceiling on it anywhere. It's just like, it's good for everybody. Absolutely.
No limits.
Yeah, that is what I mean.
I've got a question from the chat before I lose it here. Okay, so Atsuko says she's seen birds flying backwards and planes flying backwards. Now, we've seen this also where they'll appear to be sitting still in the sky or slowly moving backwards. And I kind of thought it could be air current traveling at the speed of the plane, just like a boat, might be going up current. And I kind of thought it might be something like that from what I've seen. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's a thinning of the veil? Because I've heard other things where like planes maybe disappeared for a few moments for the people on the ground, and the plane ended up being like 15 minutes late. But for the people on the plane, they just flew right there. There was no delay. I've heard these types of stories. What do you have any input on what you think that could be?
Sure. Well, one of the things I've received the most reports of over the 20 plus years of my website, Reality Shifters. Every month I publish a newsletter, and one of the things people report the most often is traveling farther in less time. So, that's interesting right there. Personally, I've seen time slow to a stop myself when it needed to, because my daughter was about to fall and hit her head on a very hard surface on the floor. So everything stopped around me. I could hear time stopping. It just goes, I can't even sound how low it goes.
Right. I've experienced that.
Yes.
It's almost like in the ears or pressury sound. Yeah.
Yes.
Very sci-fi sounding.
Totally sci-fi. But then I could easily catch my baby, my infant daughter, and then time was normal again. And thank goodness, thank God. But so that sort of thing can happen. Time is quite strange. I've seen time loops with repeating events occur. So can it stop? Can it go backwards? Sure. I think usually there's a reason for it. And maybe the reason is just so that we know that these things are possible. I think right now we're at that juncture where humanity has had for so many years a very sort of a blinders situation where we think only certain things are possible. And the blinders are opening up. And I see that as part of this. That's how I'd view it. But there may be more too. You might want to look deeper. What else might be the meaning of it? What was going on at that time?
Now, you think with a lot of people reporting seeing more orbs, I know I've been noticing a lot more orbs, and even craft. I saw an oval-shaped craft in the sky. I kept looking. It would be there, and then it wasn't there, and it was like I was seeing it in my mind's eye. And then, I'm starting to see things. I don't know if it's the third eye, but I notice other people are seeing it too. You think that's part of the veil thinning or part of our vibration raising? And, what do you think that is?
I think so. I think it sounds like high sense perception, which is seeing outside that normal range of sensory perception, which is what I was doing when I was looking at Sirius and Orion the same time you were, Eileen. I was aware of that. Like I don't see any shooting stars, but I'm seeing like you said, well, for me, it was more flashes, like little mini flashes, kind of like almost
flickering flashes.
like little, flashes. Your pictures are showing faces and stuff, which is so cool.
But there were flashes like heat lightning around it. And I'm like, well, where's the heat lightning? Where's the clouds? It was like lightning flashes too.
Well, I've seen what you were talking about earlier. You know what is that called? You know, where you have the protons and neutrons going around the nucleus, and you sort of see these sort of smaller
trailers
coming off the stars or off the moon. Sometimes you'll see these, I don't know, sort of like
photons.
They're just like tiny little orbs. It sounded like what you were explaining that you saw. Is that kind of what it looks like to you?
Yes.
Because I'll think, I was like, did I really see that? You know, I don't know why. I haven't seen stuff like that. So when I see it, I'm like trying to think logically, is something in my eye? Why did my eye see it like that? You know, but so much of it I doubt, or I
like your picture behind you. You've got all these orbs with something around them shooting off of them. And Vincent van Gogh or Van Gogh, he saw that too. When he looked at lights, he saw these things coming off of them. Remember?
Right.
And painted them.
Yeah, I talk about this in my book, Aura Advantage. I get into the energy side of things, that we are energy beings. And when you enter a room, you're actually emitting light, photons, off your body. And we are set up to see this. And children see it. And people who are slightly nearsighted have an advantage of looking at the energy field. It's very real. It's a totally real phenomenon. I've been witnessing this stuff all my life. So I just didn't want to talk about it because obviously we don't speak of such things, is what I learned.
You do now.
and just so you guys know, you've been holding back, Cynthia, so you've still got much more to come out with as sort of we catch up with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think so, because there's a whole story of you being a traveler and the Travelers, that show. And like, you know, maybe someday that will be one of your stories to share, is how all of this is not a surprise for you. All of this you were ready for. You know, you were ready to come here and do this job. And we're just kind of like catching up.
Going, and that really provides a sigh of relief for me to know that you've been at this for a while. Clearly you're not crazy. Clearly you're knowledgeable and have done your research. So I'm just thankful that I know you, to be honest, because I'm new to the scene. So it's nice to have someone that's, you know, you're a veteran, so to speak, at this craziness.
I feel so grateful to both of you and to everybody else who's also doing this at this time. It's really a great time to be alive, and it's exciting. But you're right. There's a lot more I'm not talking about. Yet. But it's not yet. I'm not hiding things. It's just
it's like everything has a time. It's like baby steps. It's like we got to get used to this first, and then we can look at the. You know, it's like it is. It's like we're taking each step as it comes instead of jumping from A to Z. Because if we jump from A to Z, we'd really go crazy. Instead, we're doing all the little steps in between.
And the way that one thing I love is looking for the scientific research to come out, because when I find it, then I know, oh, good, I can finally talk about this in a lot more detail than I ever have before, because, you know, this research has just come out. Thank goodness. Like in 2019, it's been extraordinary, showing that there is no such thing as one true objective reality. And that is such a huge assumption. And that's why people get upset with the Mandela effect. And they're thinking, well, you're from this timeline and I'm from that one. They're assuming that there's one true objective reality. There is no such thing. That was disproven this year, 2019, should have been front page news. And it should have been with the subtitle, Mandela Effect is real, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I think another thing that's harmful with that timeline thing is it will lead people into thinking that this is not my wife anymore. This is some other wife from another timeline. Where's my wife? This one's different. And it's not really like that. It's like the same person. It's just different, you know, I don't know.
Perception.
Their experience is different.
Can I ask you for advice then for our community? We have a lot of empaths here. So if they see things going wrong in 3D, it's easier for them to work with the energy through blessings and clearing and cleaning through Ho'oponopono than to actually go in and physically change it. And then there's other people here who are light workers, not so empathetic, who say, well, you know, when I see something go wrong, I'm going to go in and see if I can fix it because I still live in 3D. So, you know, is it true that if we focus on what we see is wrong around us, we need to turn away and focus on what's right around us for that to go away? Or do we have a responsibility to the 3D reality that we're in That if we see child abuse happening, we step up and we stop it. If we see something happening in our community, we don't look away. That's a tough question.
Yeah, it's not one that it's not a cookie cutter thing. And this is what's true of most of my work. So many people ask me, like, just give me the steps to do whatever. There are no steps. It's very specific to the person and the situation. And that's true here as well. So obviously, I would recommend just becoming very mindful of the entirety of the situation. Empaths are very good at feeling the feelings of others. And so they can also, if they direct their attention toward, like Shane said, an optimal solution, which I love. I love optimism and optimalism, and looking at, like, what's going to be the best thing. And just, you may not know what that is, but you can ask the question, what will be optimal? Guide me to act accordingly. And you will be guided. And that will definitely, I mean, if you want a system, there it is. It's a very spiritual system. Sounds like prayer, okay, good. Prayer is a good thing.
And it gets back to what you were saying about the vibration, because sometimes you don't know what the right answer or right solution is, but you know what it feels like. So feel that way. Feel that optimal way. You don't have to know how it's going to play out. You just have to know what you want it to feel like when it plays out, and be in that. And then that's sort of what you become a frequency match for, right? So is that how I'm quantum jumping? Because I feel like I'm in my optimal time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's how you're doing it, and you're a good example. So, it totally works. You're demonstrating it with the
your environment without running away from it, but it allows you to act guidance with a soul connection instead of just jumping in emotionally the way sometimes we're programmed and triggered to do.
But empaths have such a gift. And I think that's the thing to remember, that you're not just like anybody else. You can actually do something more than most people might recognize that they can do, because you're aware of your inside feelings and those of others. So you're able to hold that whole combination, that whole field, and then ask, how good can this feel? And just, even if you don't know what the answer is, pray for the answer, let it come to you. And by holding that space, you can bring it, which sounds magical. But
like
it is magical, though, when you see it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does happen. I've seen it happen. It is magical.
Yeah, I often think about, I tell people about your flat tire incident, where your tire went out, and then you walked around, it was fine. They checked the air pressure, and that was the only one that it was good in.
It was perfect air pressure.
I love that story.
Yeah. As opposed to my tire story, where my new tires just disappear and my old ones come back. I'm like, what? What?
Well, it's like my book. It's like missing the one main section I thought it had. It's gone. It might come back, though. You never know. So,
are you going to put it back in, or are you just going to go with the flow?
I'm having fun with it right now, just laughing about it. So we'll see. I have learned to go with the flow, because, you'll go nuts otherwise. And a lot of it, I think, is just learning to get over our human pride. So we often think we're in control. We think we know what we're doing. And it's good to frequently be reminded, like, no, not really. I think that's a good thing.
I'm like, who is in charge? God's in charge. Okay.
Yes.
What is God? God is everything, everyone that ever was and ever will be. Well, then I'm kind of in charge. Kind of, in a tiny little way.
You know what I do? I look at how I've made it this far out of complete ignorance, not knowing how the heck I got here, maybe thinking I knew where I was headed, but I still ended up right where I feel like I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. So
there's really no reason for me to think things are going to be any different moving forward. So I just trust, deal with what's in front of me, and trust that, I'll end up where I'm supposed to be. So
absolutely.
In a way, that trust is your sail, because you're trusting, you're making it good, Shane. That trust is actually drawing the goodness to you.
And it takes the fear and the worry out of it, which is what leads you down where you don't want to go if you're like all worried and fearful and stressed out all the time, right?
Yeah. This is one of my favorite things about you, Shane. It's you live your faith, and so you're such a good, you're just a good mentor for everybody that's blessed enough to be in your presence. You really bring that for people.
I just feel like people are just coming along, and while I'm learning too. So, Just come
No,
along
you
for
give
the
us a nice
experience.
calm. You give us a community, but then in the community, there is that calm of Shane. There's that calm. So we know
Yes.
that no matter what we talk about, which is really interesting because on this show, Cynthia, it's no holds barred. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Anything metaphysical's on
Yes.
the table, and we're like, we'll look at it, and then sometimes we debate it, which is rare. And then sometimes we're just like, hey, we can't figure that one out. Let's just leave it. Let's move on to something else, but we're not afraid. We're not afraid to look at certain metaphysical things that are happening.
That's so important. And it's such a good, safe space for people to come and learn and play. So thank you both for
Well, thank
doing
you.
this.
And thank you, Shane.
Yeah, thank you for paving the way for us so much,
Yeah.
Cynthia. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
you don't have to be alone in this whole thing. So
if you want to look for some more questions, Cynthia, since you're still on power, you've got power. Do you
Yes.
mind doing another meditation for us tonight? Because I do them every
Sure.
week, and it's so nice when you do them. They're extremely relaxing. It's like
Okay.
listening to a
what should we do?
spoken word.
Yeah. What would you like to do?
How good can it get? Optimal timeline meditation for everyone. All right, that would
Yeah.
be cool.
And also, in keeping in mind, we're talking about the movie tonight, the conference. So even if you can't see the movie, let's bring this energy together because this is such a great group you guys have. So the
Yeah.
audience, it's incredible. So just harnessing this beautiful, harmonious, shared intention of, like Shane said, let's make it optimal and let's bring this together. We may not know what it is, but we know what it feels like. So let's do a meditation for that. Does that sound good?
That
That sounds
sounds
great.
awesome.
We can turn off our cameras to help with
Okay.
the bandwidth while you're doing it.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Are you ready now? I don't want to rush you or anything.
Yeah, ready.
Okay, I'll put my camera off too, and I'll
Okay.
put my microphone off too, in case the dogs start like doing something.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a meditation for all of us to come together as part of this community that is sharing this experience of life right now in this present moment. And regardless what you may have been thinking about today, hopefully you can just take a nice deep breath and relax. And as you breathe in, breathe deeply to your lower abdomen, just feeling the air fill into your being, restoring a sense of calm and beauty and love to every cell in your body, every fiber of your being. And as you breathe out, releasing everything that's not pure joy, pure love, pure connection to divine source. This will be a cleansing breathing process, so we'll just do some deep breaths together, just finding that natural rhythm that works for you right now. You can't do this wrong. It's always right, so it's whatever feels right for you. It doesn't need to be exact, but just slow and steady. And breathing in, you might want to imagine, if you can, that you're in the presence of pure love. And that this love is that connection that brings everything good into our lives. It brings us our friends, our family, our most favorite experiences, our pets, our loved ones, our favorite activities, favorite color, favorite everything. This all comes from the same beautiful source. And breathing out, and again, just letting go of everything that people think you should be, or any pressure that you feel that you're supposed to be something else, or that you would have done something different. Just let that go, because you're here now and you're perfect just right now. Everything is just fine, just like it is. Just restoring a sense of kind of like factory heaven settings is what it feels like to me. It's kind of back to how good can it get for real. Really feeling like you're just graced with this divine presence of pure love. Maybe if you felt it before, you can start feeling it really strongly right now. This connection is true. It's real. It's the source of all reality. This can give you further permission to let go of everything else. All fears, doubts, expectation, anger, anything else. We're just going to keep this pure love and pretty much let go of everything else. It's perfectly safe to do this. Good. And now we're starting to feeling like a shared group together. But just keep doing this breathing. You can become slowly, gradually aware that you are a part of a community. And all of us are sharing the same intention to return to this state of grace, this state of connection to divine source. And we're all choosing to let go of everything else, letting it just go, letting bygones be bygones. Expectations can drop away. Doesn't matter what people said things were, letting it all go. That doesn't matter. We're just focusing on the source of all good. And that we are a group and that we're sharing this experience. And those of you who are empaths can start feeling this shared experience, that possibly for the first time in a long time, there are now a group of many, many empaths who know that we really can change everything for the better based on how we feel. We can choose a good feeling, and it can be so. All it takes is one of us to know that, and I know that, so we're good. We're good to go. We don't need to worry about the details. We're going to be just fine. So just focus on the best feeling that you can have for all of reality. You know what that feels like. It feels like your happiest moments with your favorite friends, favorite loved ones. You can feel this connection that we all share, the shared intention for this to be as good as it can get for all of us. This is the true nature of reality. We're ready to start bringing it back. We're doing it right now by thinking about it. I can feel it. It's starting to really, oh wow, it's feeling great. So the energy, if you can feel this, then you know what I'm feeling. It's feels like you're coming on grid. It's a strong, beautiful sense of shared energy, shared purpose. And we're going to just feel this for a little while. Again, focusing entirely on this connection to divine source. That as it becomes good for each of us, it's becoming good for all of us. And we're genuinely holding this space for everyone in this group and everyone that we are connected to. All of our loved ones, everyone that we relate with and relate to. Our communities, our families. We're sharing this beautiful energy with everyone that we love and care about. It's timeless. We're bringing this through, and it has the power to transcend anything that time or space might think is in the way. Nothing is in the way of this love and this connection. We're bringing it through directly right now. You can feel it showing through in your life. And I'd like to wish for all of us who are part of this that you will see blessings in your life following this meditation, this prayer, this time. You'll see real expressions of healing and health for you. You may have forgotten that anything was wrong and you might not notice it for a while, but you'll be surprised at some point, like, wow, things are getting a lot better. You'll remember to see the good in the world. Remember to come back to this state of feeling this sense of joy and connection. You're part of this group, this shared intention of how good can it get for everyone through a shared connection to divine source. And I know for a fact this has the power to change everything for the better. We don't need to worry about the details. You can let go. Any thoughts about that, let it go. That's not our job. We're just doing this right now. Just feeling this bliss, this joy. And I'm going to be quiet so we can just feel your connection to divine source directly. Let's focus on that, and then we'll come back as a group in just a moment. But it really strengthens it for all of us when we do this for each of us. So just feel that direct connection that you directly have to divine source. And then again, we're sharing it with all of those of us who are gathered together today right now and for all time and all space, and for everyone that we're connected to. We are indeed a multitude. I can really feel it. And this is a very powerful positive effect with not just planetary, but universal and multiverse benefits. But the main thing is just feeling it for yourself. So we're going to return to that. So each of us will now be, we've been sort of holding energetic hands. We'll be letting go just gently, kind of like you just let go of hands that you're holding, and still feeling the love and the connection and the shared joy. You're still part of this community. Once you're part of it, you're always part of it. It's always your family. You're never alone. You're always with us. You've got this love anytime you think of it and you need it. You can connect to it just with a thought, just by needing it. You'll be back. And then instantly you'll be remember to directly connect to Source. So we're just gently letting go. Still feeling this connection to Divine Source. So grateful that we have this. It's the greatest blessing we could ever have, for sure. I'm just feeling that truly right now. And so grateful to all of you as well. And then just return your attention to your breathing. Make sure that you're still breathing those beautiful deep breaths. Let's invite this healing intention of balance and joy and optimality, just really enjoying an optimal life. It may not seem like it, but you can ask this sense of oneness to show you how could this be optimal, and you can be shown how. And you can find ways out of things that may have looked impossible. I've seen amazing things happen. Miracles happen all the time. They happen in a moment. They will happen for you. Just take another deep breath. You can feel a sense that you're slowly returning to regular, ordinary consciousness. But if you like, we talked about it tonight, you can also keep this other sense of being. You can be both. You can have your daily feeling and also this timeless, true, infinite, eternal awareness of connection to Source and self. Take another deep breath. I'm just saying one more blessing for everyone together and all of those that we love. This is our true family. You can feel it. And another deep breath. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was absolutely beautiful. Wow, that was so strong.
So strong.
Well, thanks to you guys for bringing this community together, because I'm just so moved by the group that you have here.
They're
Thank you.
amazing. They've been here for a year. Well, they've been here a long time with Shane, but for a year and a half, we've been meditating together live every Saturday night for a year and a half, and almost nobody misses a Saturday. It's like we get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger every week.
Yeah, we've seen miracles within our group. You know, I can't remember her name. Was it Julie in New Zealand that actually Jenny?
Yep.
Yeah, had a healing, miraculous healing. It wasn't even for her, but just being that conduit for that loving energy, the leaky bucket effect that Lynne McTaggart talks about. It's real. And when you've got this altruistic or this sort of service to others, I mean, it does benefit you.
It comes back. And then I think it was Wisdom of the Lunar Rays, or sorry if I got the name wrong, who really needed some money coming in, and was we did a meditation for ourselves that week. Usually we do it for the whole world. And we said, everybody who needs anything, it just comes to you. It comes to you because you're going to allow it in. And she's like, oh my God, I got the money I needed on time, you know, and that was an email she sent. Yeah.
And you know what you did in this, Cynthia, in this actual meditation, I try to do that periodically throughout the day, even a couple of times an hour, where I just, because that perfect bliss, that perfection, that acceptance of this now moment being perfect is always there. I mean, you can take a break, even if you're at work between phone calls, just take 10 seconds and take that deep breath in and feel that bliss of the moment. And it helps. So it actually helps more than going and meditating for 20 minutes to do that throughout the day, because it kind of keeps you in that state, like you were saying, where you can have one foot in this world, but have that feeling of bliss throughout the day. And and you spread that. You can see people's face light up, and I mean, it
yes.
spreads. And so often we use that against ourselves. You know, somebody will tick us off in traffic, then we get quick with the teller at the store, and then, you know, make her day worse. So we're actually trying to do the opposite of that, where we become that light in someone's life that day, you know. And those little things is what is going to make the huge difference, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
I posted an image of that on my Aura Advantage Facebook page today. Just one person all lit up, and then touching other people and they light up. Such a beautiful idea. It's fun to see it in a picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt lighter, and I felt younger when you come together and you get into a state of bliss like we did tonight. It's like you almost go back to childhood where there's no worries. You know how kids are when they play? No
Absolutely.
worries. Yeah.
And that's the way to live. That's the way to live. Can you imagine if everybody lived that way? I mean, everything would be different.
That's where we're headed. We're going there. We're going there. We are.
And I think
this group's going there.
That speaks to exactly what Jesus was talking about when he says you have to become like little children again.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Before you have all that baggage attached to you, the prejudices and the judgments and all of that.
And the fear and the worry
and the fears and the worries. Yeah. Just that childlike excitement. Yes. How good can it get?
That was beautiful. That was really very healing, but empowering at the same time, because my head and my hands were buzzing, but I was feeling very light and free.
I loved feeling the energy of this group together. The collective is electric. So.
That's so cool, because I just got chills when you said that, because we're dedicated. The people here tonight with us tonight, yes. They're here every Saturday night, and maybe they'll miss 1 week because they're not well, or 1 week because they're traveling, but boom, they're back again. And it's like we're like a family. We're like a manifesting family, and we get there together, and we hold hands spiritually, and it's powerful. It's very powerful when you get a lot of people together in the same moment outside of time. You're like outside of time, and you're making the change. You're making the change because together you've stepped out of time where all your power is.
And they felt it too. Love buzz. Whoa, Caleb says. And I've still got the tingles going through me. So
me too.
Yeah, me too.
It feels great.
Yeah, I've still got waves and waves of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any chat, but I really love you guys. And I'm so grateful that you're here and you make this show happen, because honestly, without you guys, we wouldn't be sitting here doing it. You know, it just wouldn't happen if it wasn't for you guys.
A functional family. That's good.
Who said that?
I like that.
I do.
Terry.
I like that. Hey, Terry. Pork chop gang.
Yeah. That's funny. I've never heard that. A functional family. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Oh my God, that's funny.
So we might not have that in our daily family for some of us, but we do have it here together, and we can sort of come out of our shells and share our experiences and share the love, and it's palpable. It really is. I can feel that love and that joy and that peace and that bliss just all around us. Absolutely. All the time. We can breathe it in all the time.
Isn't tomorrow like a new moon or something? Aren't we doing this like on a special day as well? Like something's happening
is it
tomorrow.
New moon time?
I think so.
I don't know.
That's a good thing.
Because somebody's having a crystal bowls in the Himalayan salt cave tomorrow night, so something's up. Something's up. Don't keep track.
Well, Cynthia, I am looking so forward to meeting you here in a week and a half, and speaking alongside you. I mean, I'm honored to be there with all of you guys that are going to be there, and wow, it's been an amazing ride. You know, I really am asking myself, how good can it get? So thank you for bringing that to us and all that you've
Thank
done.
you for having me on the show. Yeah, I'm so glad to be here, and really looking forward to the conference and staying together with this beautiful community, because even after the conference, we've got lots going on. This is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. And thank you for paving the way for us. And then when we came to you saying, knock, knock, will you come and talk to us? You're like, yes, I can't wait. And then knock, knock, would you write a blurb for our book? Yes. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you said yes. Because it's hard when you're a newbie. You have to like find where the people are doing it. and join them and make the
Yeah.
community bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing it. We're making our community.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
kind of creates itself, as Dark Wolf keeps saying. He's right.
Growing by leaps and bounds. I think it's on fire right now. It's just growing. It's spreading
Yes.
around the world, just like boom. You can feel it. Almost
Yeah.
everybody I know is Mandela affected now. When I started out, meeting Shane and talking to Shane, I knew one person in my family. Now my whole family is affected. So I'm like, yes, it is spreading.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Definitely. And, I even say with the shadow banning, I'm like, I don't really mind it because we got the word of mouth. We're spreading to other groups, and those people are coming over, and we're kind of getting rid of the trolls. I haven't seen trolls in a while.
No trolls. Yep.
Thank goodness for the shadow banning, I say. The people that's supposed to find us. So.
Yep. Definitely. I noticed that too.
That's really true.
Well, lots of love and light to you guys. Thank you so much for being here, Cynthia.
Thank you
Eileen,
both.
of course, thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Cynthia. I can't wait to see you and meet you sometime. I know it's going to be an awesome conference.
Yes.
Yeah, I will be there representing Eileen and Vanessa VA and Paulo, Spirit Walker.
Spirit Walker and everybody
there
listening.
with me in spirit, and everybody in the chat that can't make it. I will be sort of representing our little group. So you guys just send the love, and I will spread it while I'm there, and it'll be awesome.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And tune in, you guys, because we're going to have Kimberly Lynn Hansen on Monday afternoon. Okay. She's going to be another speaker, an artist, wonderful person. So check out her in the afternoon. And then we're actually going to have, on Paranormal Frequencies at 9 p.m., we're going to have Elise Meadows. That's the Channeling Eric mother.
Oh, yeah, I know her.
I've
seen her.
Yeah. So Monday's going to be packed, you guys. So make sure you don't miss that.
Yeah, and somebody tell Angela. Angela's got to watch that show.
Oh, yeah, Angela knows, yeah. All right. Well, peace, everybody. See you in the next one.
Bye. Till next time.
Bye.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.